Hey guys, okay, so the story that I wrote and talked about was about my father. And I kind of gave you guys some closure about what happened to my father. And I told you that you can go on my Facebook page, you can look at my family photos, and you can actually see my family. So I did post them on there, so you'll be able to see that. For my picture readers, if you are a picture reader, you can look at my photos and you can determine what type of attitude, characteristic, spirit each one of us had in that house, and those are for my picture readers. Um, my mother was the youngest of two siblings. She had one sister and a brother. Her brother had passed away at age 33, and she has a sister that is still here. Um, my mother actually was like a tomboy when she was growing up, and she did have structure. Her mother kept her in church just like she did the rest of the siblings. They got up in the church on Sunday mornings. They participated in church activities and things like that. My mother eventually had three boys of her own, and that is me being the youngest, my middle brother. We are a year apart. Um, and then my oldest brother, we share the same mom, but a different dad, but he's still my brother. And then I have a sister from my father's side, but I told you that in the other video about my father. But she's in service right now, so she's in Afghanistan, and she can't really come home right now, and she can get in contact with us whenever she's able to, but right now she's like still stationed out there. So I believe she's stationed in Florida right now, but she is still like back and forth from the U.S. to Afghanistan. Um, my cousins also um, are veterans, but and that is a cousin from my aunt, which is my mother's sister. I do have some aunts on my father's side, but I want to figure that out later on. But I do know who they are. I just want to focus on my mother. So my mother moved to. I told you my mother moved to North Carolina. We're all from Washington D.C., but my mother moved to North Carolina in 1999. She kept me, my brother. She moved us here. My oldest brother, he moved to North Carolina a few years later, but she went back to go get him to come back to live with us because he had a choice of either to stay with our mother or his father. And of course, he chose to stay with our mother, which is a good thing because we wanted our mother, and I think everybody wants the mother. So we moved to North Carolina in 1999. After my father and her got married, they ended up splitting up, and my mother met another guy, which we considered to be our stepfather, and they lived their own separate lives. But my mother actually raised three boys alone by herself. She really did not have the male, our actual fathers there for the majority of the being, just being raised with, but she did have certain boyfriends and men every now and then. She didn't really utilize a man to take care of the family or help while we were in our youngest stages. She kind of used men. Our stepfather was there, but then she eventually kicked him out, like she did the rest of them. And we ended up having, and I don't consider her boyfriends after when we were in middle school and high school. I don't consider those boyfriends our stepfather, at least not my stepfather at all. But she did have other men that she dated that eventually they also left also. Um, um, but even though my mother has kept us away from our family, really, I am very thankful for her, and I've told you guys that before in my other videos. I'm very thankful for her because she literally, she took us away but she kept us safe, and she kept a roof over our head, and she provided food for us, and we struggled a lot while growing up because she had an addiction, and it was for some odd reason, and I know it was God, but we literally like broke through and survived through that moment, and that all those years of her utilizing substances, and every now and then it's like she was using it and then she wasn't using it, but it was kind of hard to tell because when I was younger, I had no idea that my mom was using drugs at all. I just didn't. Like, it was not even in my, I wasn't even thinking about that. And then when I got in high school, that's when I figured out. I'm like, Chris, it took you that long to figure out your mom was on drugs? Yes. I was literally a good child. Me and my brother was literally good behaved boys. So we were pretty much brainwashed, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. My mother, even though that was not a good idea for her to do that, she hid her substance abuse from her children, so we didn't even know she was using. We just thought we just had a strict mother who was nice sometimes but didn't know what she was talking about sometimes, but we had no idea that it was for drugs. Like, we knew that she would drink every once in a while, but she didn't even like show that sign of addiction to us. So she did a great job hiding it, because I don't even know how I would have felt if I had realized that while I was still in elementary or middle school. Like, literally. She knew that I was a sweet, generous person. She knew that I was very sensitive. So I can imagine how she would feel if she would have just been so outspoken, or if she was like exposing it and just didn't care. I imagine how I would have acted in school or anything. But she did a very good job hiding it. Like, oh my gosh. But she is very, she did keep us away from our father because she was very upset with him. And but at the same time, every once in a while we would go to church, but we really did not go to church. Really, we did not. Because she was the type of person that just didn't want to go. Now, if she was in trouble with something, then all of a sudden she would want to go to church and bring the family with her. And that's how they was able to determine that her lifestyle was out of order. But no, seriously, she was really money hungry. My mom was really money hungry. It was the whole reason why we moved to North Carolina. I'm going to have to say this, but she pretty much got her hands in a bunch. She ended up stealing some drugs from one of her friends. I guess a drug dealer. In DC, and they were after her, trying to find out where she was because they knew it was her. And so she hurried up and packed her things and fled to North Carolina and took our stepfather with her. And that made, the I don't care if you see your family or not, I'm trying to protect me and my children right now. I'm not going to do it anymore. It was like one of those type of things. So she didn't really care what she left behind or what was going on, as long as she was protecting her life and her children. And she felt bad for what she did, but she was addicted to that type of stuff. And then she had a boyfriend who was considered our stepfather, who was with her at the time. So he was not really a good person around her either. Just like my grandmother said, she's just always chosen the wrong men. But at the end of the day, she knows that she has to take account of herself and how she acted also. You can't just blame the man. You have to blame yourself too, because you have, even though you're right, you don't need to always blame the guy. I mean, you have to blame yourself too. But she did choose the wrong environment to be around. But not saying that people can't change, because they can. It's just that I was late finding out what type of parents I had. I just really was, because my mind, when you're in school and you're going to school every single day all your life, and all your focus is in school, coming home Christmas, and just being a kid, you don't even see those things until you get older and start really looking at the bigger picture and started really overseeing things. This is why some pastors in church, they become overseers, or they're called overseers, because they're able to identify situations on a broad spectrum, like within your mind, quotation mark, quote unquote, blah blah blah. So yeah, but it was very very surprising, and it really is interesting because my mother actually had a lot of sense. She was really smart. She knew the streets. You couldn't tell her nothing. But she also knew how to show respect and what she needed to tell her children in order for them to be respectful when they step outside of the house. And that was so weird because even though she had her ways of parenting incorrectly, she still had her ways of parenting correctly. So it was like I cannot just go around tell people that I'm not thankful for my mom whatsoever. Like literally, I cannot say that. No one had the perfect life while growing up. Some people, however, may say that they did have the perfect life, but I am very thankful for my mother, and I have to just go ahead and acknowledge that I've said it before, but that is pretty much the story of my mother. She was not the type of person that worked. She did not. She did work. Okay. According to what my grandmother says, yes, I believe that before we was conceived, she was working and working and working. Even when we moved to North Carolina, she found a few jobs. But then, like mostly, like 90% of our life, while I was growing up with my mom, she did not work at all. Okay, and yes, it's supposed to be the wife doesn't have to work and the man works. But of course, she was a single mother, so she had to do what she had to do. So that is understandable. But other than that, even when you're in housing authority and they're saying where you don't, you have to pay your rent, it's like they have made ways for her to live rent free. I guess I'm not sure. Because there's just no way in the world that she would say, I have to pay this rent, I have to pay this rent, and you do nothing all day, but you're just doing drugs. Like, I don't understand. And then we didn't get anything. Like, everything that we've gotten, that we were supposed to get, to have, our family, me and my brothers, we got nothing. So, it was like Christmas, it was like either it's Salvation Army, I'm not buying y'all nothing. My mom was just like that. Okay, she loved us, but she was just like, it was almost like she didn't show all of it. So because she was like really into the drugs and things like that, other things interest her. You would think that would be like your child would interest you a lot. And it did. That's what's so weird because we did interest her. She did love us and we did love her, but it's like we didn't get the 100% love as normal family would actually get, if that's correct, if I say that right. So when it came for tax time, we never actually, and this is funny, but it's not funny, but it is. Usually, okay, we went pretty much like this. I don't even have to explain it. If your mother was on drugs and she was money hungry and that's all she was worried about, do you think the children got anything during taxes? No. I'm sorry I had to say that. And my mom might see this video later on, and I'm pretty sure she will. She might. I don't know, but that's the truth. We really, and my oldest brother's really upset about that. My oldest brother, he has children now, but he's still upset about that. Like for Christmas and everything, we never got anything. Either we got something for free, because she wasn't paying for nothing. That's just the bottom line. It's so funny, but it's not, but it is. But anyways, so this is how you can tell that there was a drug-related issue going on in the house. Each child gets what? Close to roughly $4,500 per child during taxes. Okay, out of 20 years, out of 13 years, out of 18 years, we've never had a vehicle. My mother never had a car. Why? Because she chose to do the wrong things with the income that she was getting. And yeah, that's pretty much it. When it was time to go to school, back to school shopping, all the other kids and all our friends had things, and we were left with the same thing, didn't have anything. So she just wasn't going to do that. So, I mean, that was because of the lifestyle that she chose to live. And I mean, I'm just thankful that I didn't grow up to be one of those people that really hated their mother and talked about them and went out in the street and just got arrested or did something completely stupid. I am literally thankful that I'm literally sitting here saying that I'm thankful, even though I should be acting crazy, but I'm not, because that's not a good way to carry yourself. And you have to be thankful for something so the universe can respond back to you and God can bless you even more, because not everyone had the perfect lifestyle while growing up. So that is pretty much it. If you want to ask me what my mother's doing now, she still has. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have not spoken to my mother in probably 2.5 months. Um, Neither my grandmother, um, or my aunt. Definitely not my aunt. Because she needs prayer. She needs to work on her spirit. In the name of Jesus, God's gonna have to do something. But anyways, back to my mother. I'm trying to figure out. Um, Last time I checked, she was still with the guy. So I don't even think, she has a newer boyfriend and he's no good. He's using drugs just like she's using them. And it's like she can stop, but it's kind of harder now because she has the wrong guy around her. So it's kind of like, boop, even if she did want to go to church, and even though I know she's not going to go, but my grandma thinking otherwise. But I'm like, grandma, she's not gonna go. She's demonstrated to you already. She don't want you telling her to go, and then she's not going. So it's kind of funny, but it's not. But it is, because you can't just be upset about that stuff. You have to like find a humor in some things. So yeah, that's the story of my mother. So I mean, if you got any other comments or questions, just write them down. I think the guidelines now are kind of different, so I don't know. But yeah, feel free to write whatever you want. That is the story of my mother.